With the premiere of Black Lightning Season 3 now out, it's time to do a recap of Season 2! What's up, YouTubers of the world? MegaGeekMixer here to give you guys a recap video on Black Lightning Season 2. So, first off, let me thank everyone who has been supporting my recap videos from Young Justice Season 3 Part 1 to Titans Season 1's recap video. I want to thank everyone and all my subscribers and all the comments that were left behind from those who thanked me for helping you guys get caught up before seeing the season. It was my pleasure to help you out. And for those who actually are trying to help me and improving my videos, I want to thank you all for that. And now with that all said and done, let's go ahead and get into the recap of Season 2 of Black Lightning. So, it all starts off with the public community of Freeland now knows about Greenlight turning some of their kids into metas. And unfortunately, though, the police department takes aggressive measures and taken meta-humans kids who have taken Greenlight or suspect they might have taken Greenlight. That doesn't so sit well with some of the community, but also with with what Greenlight did in Season 1, they also don't have a good opinion on Greenlight metas. But not only that, we also get the aftermath of the school attack on Garfield High. The school board was threatening to close Garfield High because Jefferson Pierce didn't do a job as principal to be there when the school was attacked, or in the aftermath. And so Jefferson stepped down as principal and decided instead still be a teacher of Garfield High, just to keep Garfield High from being closed. And then doing so made them get a new principal by the name of Mike Laurie, who we find out is a more stricter and more stern teacher and by the books, just to make him get more paid and stuff, I guess you could say. But either way, the school students and faculty show that they don't like how he runs things, and eventually it hits rock bottom for him when Jennifer takes a stand against him and makes a speech, and in doing so, a video is recorded of it by students that goes viral, that it almost threatens Mike Laurie of losing his position and Jefferson getting it back. But Jefferson refuses, knowing that in Season 2 of Black Lightning, his time as a superhero is more complicated, that he decides to keep Mike Laurie as principals and hopefully the students and them will get a chance to connect. Now, as for Black Lightning himself, well, he has a lot going on this season. One in which Henderson learns the truth of who Black Lightning is. That Jefferson and Black Lightning are one and the same, thanks to all the clues left back in Season 1. And it puts a strain on their friendship at first, but they eventually work it out to where Jefferson even shares with him of Peter Gamby's sanctum. And then all three of them decide to work together to finally take down Tobias Well. And as for Peter Gamby, well, in this season, all that's really happened with him is that someone tried to assassinate him. Someone hired assassins to kill him. Of course, they failed. Unfortunately, we never know who it was, but I suspect the ASA. And as for Tobias Well, he decides to go full-on bad guy in Season 2. By that, I mean he loses cyanide. Cyanide, unfortunately, perishes to the hands of the former assistant principal by the name of Kara. And since cyanide was the only thing Tobias had left in the world that he cared about, he decided to go on full-on bad guy by tying up loose ends to former crimes that could still link back to him and arrest him. Once he had all that done, he intentionally got himself arrested, but since there was no evidence to go off of him on the murder of Alvin Pierce, Jefferson's father, and other stuff, he was cleared and he became an upstanding citizen of Freeland and was able to go back out in public as the leader of the 100 gang. And one of the first things he was trying to do was buy the church and a clinic owned by the character Reverend Holt, who made a few appearances in Season 1. The reason for why he wanted to buy the clinic is because, well, the clinic was actually the original location of the ASA meta program that created a vaccine that also in doing so created Black Lightning, and it housed other metahumans who I will get to here later on. But also he had gotten a briefcase from the ASA at the season finale of season 1, and he did crack a bit of it, but not enough. That's where he hired a new character by the name of Todd, who helped him crack the briefcase and learn that the ASA now has pod kids who have metahuman powers. But he also runs into an old friend, and this is where I'll now go into Lynn, who in this season is working with the pod kids to try to help them get out of the pods and get back to their lives. At first, she tries to interview herself to get the job to a new character by the name of Agent Odell, who is the one new person in charge of the ASA and the pod kids. At first, Agent Odell declines, but Lynn pulls some strings to end up getting the job, and in doing so, works to find a cure for those pod kids, and in doing so, we also meet a few new characters. Two of them being metas. One by the name of Isa, who has the power to make people tell the truth when he makes eye contact with them. Another of them was a kid who was already in the pod for 30 years, by a girl by the name of Wendy, who at first escapes but then is recaptured, but then later on revived by Lynn, and she trains her to control her powers so she can go back out into the world. There's also a new character that Lynn works with to try to help the pod kids, but a woman by the name of Dr.Jace, who is a person who does illegal experiments to acquire data and doesn't mind casualties, which is what she does by lying to Lynn about something that could cure all the kids, and it only ends up curing half of the kids while killing half of the pod kids. But it's all through this that Tobias Whale learns of Dr. Jace, who he has history with, and reunites with her, because it turns out Dr. Jace was the one who created the aging serum that Tobias Whale takes, and was the architect of the original vaccine in Freeland. But not only that, after the whole experiment in Freeland was over, she went to Markovia, where she created a meta program, but the ASA helped her defect from the program, and she stayed with the ASA ever since. But with Tobias Whale's help, she is able to escape. She is able to escape the ASA, but not without bringing the pod kids along with them. That was during the time when Lynn was able to revive Wendy. But there's more to it than that. Not only did she give him the pod kids, but she was also the one who knew where the original metas were from the clinic that he was trying to get from Reverend Holt, and they were known as the Masters of Disasters. And Tobias Whale and Dr. Jace end up getting them, so Tobias Whale can become a metahuman arms dealer. Now, and that's pretty much what it is in Tobias's case. As for like Anissa, well, in season 2, she decided to go Robin Hood and steal from gang members, taking their dirty money to give for financial assistance to places like Reverend Holt's clinic and his church. But not only that, she also was finally able to get into a relationship with Grace. And as time went on, we learned that Grace has powers, and it turns out the power is shape-shifting. And as soon as Grace is starting to see that her powers are getting more noticeable, she disappears, and Anissa, worrying about her, tries to find her and ends up learning about Grace's past. First off, Grace's real name being Shaylee Wild, and in her past she was abducted at the age of 16 and sold to a child prostitution before ICE was able to break it up, and she resurfaced in Freeland as Grace Troy. Eventually, Anissa learned that who the shapeshifter was, being Grace Troy. Unfortunately, she still didn't find her by the end of season 2, which is moving into season 3. Now, as for Jennifer, well, with her in season 2, since she's still trying to learn how to control her powers, her parents force her to stay at home so that way as to protect her, knowing about the green light metas and how public opinions of metahumans are not good right now, and the fear of losing her and her being taken away. Unfortunately, this doesn't sit well with Jen, but she starts to learn to control her powers better when she meets a new character who's also metahuman, and her therapist, a woman by the name of Perina, who as a metahuman has, I guess you could say, has the power to make people see things in their mind, but also it feels real enough to them. One such instance when Markovian soldiers tried to kidnap her, but she was able to make them feel like they were on a frozen land. And pretty much to help Jennifer, she makes her go to a place that's a comfort zone to control her powers. And then as time went on, though, we learned that Jennifer still stayed in contact with Khalil. At first ghosting him, but with the whole homeschool and prison thing, she connects back with him. And we learned that Khalil, while he may still work for Tobias, he eventually sees he can't go through with everything Tobias does and decides to run away. And with Jennifer knowing about all this, decides to run away with him. And unfortunately, though, they soon come to realize that running away isn't the answer. All thanks to Lynn, who ends up finding them, but not exactly seeing them, and gives out a speech to let them know that running isn't the answer. This helps both Khalil and her realize to go back home and allow Khalil to go to turn himself over to the authorities, hoping to bring Tobias Well down. But since Tobias Well wouldn't allow that to happen, he sends out an assassin who was an old flame of his, a woman named Cutter, who had bad history with Tobias, but they resolve it in this season and get back together. And unfortunately, since Cutter succeeds in bringing him to Tobias kills him. But this is the igniting point for Jennifer and her embracing her powers and embracing the superhero role. And she works with Peter Gamby to start her suit to get to be ready. While all this goes on, though, we are also introduced back to another character from Season 1 who was killed in the season finale, that being Lala. And it turns out, we find out how Lala is able to be resurrected by a guy named Lazarus Prime, who seems to have some sort of thing with being able to get people's organs and able to revive them somehow. And eventually Lala returns to Garfield High to confront Jefferson, thinking he killed a friend of his and a former student of Jefferson Pierce's, a guy named Earl, but turns out Lala killed him. But after learning of that, he decides to make it his new mission to kill Tobias Well. And this is where it goes into the final battle. Tobias Well has released the Masters of Disaster by the name of Shakedown, Heatstroke, Cold Snap, and New Wave. He sends out Heatstroke as a demonstration to terrorize the city, but Black Lightning and Thunder show up to stop him, and in doing so, Gamby ends up locating where the Pod Kids are. Gamby had located Tobias Well. Jennifer, who was still after revenge, overhears and tries to go after him, but unfortunately still can't control her powers. He gets away. But with Gamby, Black Lightning, and Thunder run into Jennifer's location, Black Lightning ends up discovering the Pod Kids. And during that time, when he found the Pod Kids, did he let Lynn know? Dr.Jace tried to attack Black Lightning, but Lynn shows up there, and Dr.Jace and Lynn have a small brawl. In the end, Dr.Jace makes a bargain with them, where she reveals she had found a cure to release all the Pod Kids from their pods, being alive and well, as long as they gave her to the police custody of Freeland. Unfortunately for her, though, the Markovians had sent a bounty hunter to kidnap her. And I'm sorry that I haven't mentioned this yet, guys, but it turns out the Markovians also tried to assassinate Lynn, but luckily Agent Odell had been following her, and we'll get more into that here later. But with all that having been done, and Tobias Well now seeing how crazy things are, all because of Black Lightning, he decides to cause a blackout and a riot in the city of Freeland with the Masters of Disaster and the 100 gang. And that's where it leads into the Masters of Disaster versus Black Lightning and Thunder. And let me just say, that was an awesome brawl off the bat right there. They had an advantage over Black Lightning because the city was blacked out. But with Gamby and Jennifer finding the power generator, turned the power back onto the city, and Black Lightning and Thunder were able to stop the Masters of Disaster. During all that time, Lala confronted Tobias, and it is here that Tobias Well reveals that while he may have been resurrected, Tobias Well brainwashed him, and he makes a word command that makes Lala start to have all the tattoos of the people he killed now coming all over his body. But before he could kill Lala, Lightning shows up, finding Tobias' location, almost killed him, but luckily her father showed up and stopped her, and after And after that, well, both of them just beat down Tobias Whale, and finally Tobias Whale was in the custody, not of the police, but of the ASA. And Agent Odell, knowing that the Pod Kids had been found after they had been kidnapped, gets them back in his possession, along with getting Isa, Wendy, and Khalil, who he seems to keep alive through a pod. And after all this time, throughout Season 2, Agent Odell had been spying on the Jefferson Pierce family, knowing their secret identities, and finally, at the end of the season, revealed himself and revealed to the Pierce family that he knew everything about them and that he needed them to help him fight the Markovians, who know about the metas and were coming to Freeland to start a war. And that's pretty much what Season 2 was. But during the middle of Season 2, there was a filler arc where Black Lightning and Thunder went to South Freeland and discovered that there was a metahuman that was an original victim of the vaccine that created Black Lightning. Also an original member of the Outsiders by the name of Looker, who in South Freeland had gotten rid of the drug problems, but also separated the community of the whites and the blacks. Purdy being the blacks, Sanjay being the whites. She controlled the Sanjay with her powers, silver liquid that allows her to possess them, control them, and give them powers. But there, not only that, she also made the Sanjay and Purdy have bad blood with each other, until one Sanjay Deacon and one Purdy named Anya formed a unison and had twins that ended up being a threat to Looker and tried to kill them, until Black Lightning and Thunder came and stopped her and gave her off to the ASA. And that, guys, is Black Lightning Season 2 recap. And I hope this, guys, helped you guys out, since I made this video right after Season 3 premiere came out. So for those of y'all who already saw it, I hope this helped you guys out in being caught up on some things that y'all probably missed or forgot back in Season 2 as y'all watch Season 3 and as y'all continue to watch Season 3 going forward. But until then, guys, if you're enjoying my videos, all you gotta do is click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos, and until then, MegaGeekMixer signing out. Bye!